Live Saga TV. Let me dress, it's a bit cold. Yeah, so I was dressing up because it's a bit cold to leave my chest out. So welcome once more to Live Saga TV. Today I had a lot of activities, so I even booked for this time, but by the time it was 14:40, I was not yet ready. So we are 15 minutes late, but we are gonna cover about 40 minutes here. So of course we know that in Kenya things are up, drama after drama, but these dramas are all over the world, guys. So for example, the Jamaican drama in politics has really stood out because like we've had a lot of issues in JNP and PNP. The first issue being removing monarchy. And the removal of monarchy has come with JLP putting their position as moving to replace the king with president, whereas PNP are counter-reacting to that, saying that, that the selection mechanism should be better, We have also had issues to do with election campaigns, and PNP has come up to say that they challenge the poll legitimacy. For example, they are pushing for fair processes in the electoral process. And JLP, on the other hand, they are there seeking third term, aggressively messaging and all that. We've seen also corruption allegations in Jamaica. JLP have been claiming that there is a lot of mismanagement of public funds, whereas PNP have been talking about legal action as a necessity to curb that. When we look at appointments, we have a controversy in Jamaica, and JLP has been blocking appointments tied to PNP affiliates, whereas PNP has been denouncing political persecution. And lastly, we've had also election violence, with us seeing JLP attributing violence to PNP and their supporters, whereas PNP condemn inflammatory rhetoric statements, right? So drama are all over the places. Political dramas are in every country. But then in Kenya, we have our own drama. Of course, GACHAGUA had to cut short the visit in USA and his return. So, of course, you've heard Murkomen Kindiki of late. Vold Crystallis. What do I have to guess? All right, welcome on board and like the video. So guys, in Kenya, GACHAGUA, all right, Umar Farouk, hello, welcome on board. It is 14:57, almost 15 p.m. Void Christos is like chicken what? No, avoid that here. Let's maintain the focus on what we are discussing. Void Crystallis, we have nothing to do with your discussion. Thank you, Umar Farouk. I really appreciate. And just see the conversation, Umar Farouk, see the conversation of Void Crystallis. I don't know what he's trying to actually post here. Void Crystallis is actually out of order and posting very funny statements right there. So please maintain the expectations of the channel, and we are focused towards political discussions. So let's not digress. You can appreciate, you can greet, you can actually talk to the people on the platform, but you don't have to bring about some funny stuff like what you are posting. Void Crystallis. All right. All right. So let's get into the political discussion, deep into it. And of course, you know very well that we've had a lot of threats from Kindiki all the way to Murkomen and the rest of the political allies saying that once GACHAGUA arrives in Kenya, he must be arrested. Alberto 91, welcome. I'm from Kenya, but I love politics. Running from UK to USA, to everywhere with Trump and Putin, for example. What's up? All right, Jamaica with the JLP and the PNP. All right, so let's proceed into our discussion. And remember that after the government threatened to arrest the president, the Meru leader, youth leader, of course you know him, he's known as Babu Ken. Babu Ken decided to mobilize 100,000 young people who will go and receive Gachagua at the airport. You know, that's a move that has shaken the top officers. Help me run away. Hey, that is a name indeed. Why do you want to run away? California. Welcome from California. I'm from Kenya. And politics is hot right here. You know, with people already campaigning for 2026, 2027, you know, and, you know, getting to form grounds, form alliances and all that. So help me run away. Welcome. And thank you for coming to the platform. You can like the video. Alberto91, like the video. Void Crystalis, like the video. And focus on the topic of discussion. You can also greet the other people on the platform, you know their whereabouts, and we proceed. All right. So, of course, you've seen Raila intending to have counties handle education up to secondary level. And I'm like, is that possible? The counties have actually messed a lot of things in Kenya. When you look at the doctors, for example, there's a problem. There's a problem. And I'm just imagining if the counties would handle up to high school, there would be a problem too, automatically, because if they have not been able to manage the workers in the section of health, how then will counties in Kenya manage to work on, you know, things to do with education up to secondary level? It may be total crisis, you know. I don't know what why Raila wants that to happen, but then it may cause a lot of mayhem, you know. All right. All right. So, and of late, you've seen a lot of fiasco, or rather, you know, a lot of hulabaloo surrounding Sifuna, Kalonzo, Owino, and the likes, right? And of course, we saw Wamuchomba coming and talking to the speaker in parliament, you know, telling him that she is not his wife, you know. When the leaders start doing this, then what exactly are they trying to communicate to the citizens? You know, that there is no decorum at all in the country yet. Because if they do that in parliament, it goes viral the next day, and people will be talking about it. So far, of course, you understand that there is an LSK meeting that is happening at Kwale today. And so there is a lot of expectation about what the group of Kalonzo, Babu, Sifuna, and the rest of them will say. Now, I want you to listen to what Babu Wino had to say. Let me play some video here. Let me just check on this again. All right, here it is. Give me a short while, I'll be playing it for you. So, of course, Amanda Kosgei, Mambo, welcome on board, and let's discuss politics in Kenya. Hi, Amanda. I hope you're fine. Welcome on board, and let's discuss politics. Partly Kenya, and I've already mentioned something to do with Jamaica. And of course, there is more coming in. So, here is what Babu Wino had to say while attending the LSK annual conference in Diani. And not long ago, just some few minutes ago, right? Play.
Legal minds who have held justice and legal minds who have carried the torch of integrity in the profession. Ladies and gentlemen, as new advocates, we have arrived. We arrive with enthusiasm. We arrive with fresh ideas. And we arrive with yokes of responsibility resting on our shoulders. And we understand that this noble profession is not, the noble profession is more than just a career, but it is a calling. It is a calling to serve justice. It is a calling to defend the Constitution, and it is a calling to be the voice of the voiceless. As new advocates, we will carry ourselves with humility, curiosity, and courage. And to our mentors and seniors, we want to thank you very much for paving the way. And we want to tell you that we will continue learning and growing under your guidance, because we are here today because you have led by example.
All right.
Thank you, and to Excellency KALONZO, go and conquer the nation. My super senator, SIFUNA.
All right. So Babu, during his speech, he actually insisted on the focus on justice and respect of citizens. Now remember, Babu Owino has been a victim of situations so many times. We've seen him in prison, or rather, let's say behind bars for so many times. And we've seen him also attending to very controversial cases, including the recent cases that were involving Kumar and the members who left the police service because they had decided not to adhere to the expectations of that career. Of late, Babu has come up with one suggestion whereby they have to retribute or retrieve, if someone went to prison and is young, so he's actually presenting a bill that would actually lead to removal of those negative crime records on them. How about that? Do you think this is a correct movement, or will it actually work against our criminal system? Will people now begin creating, conducting crime, knowing that at one point they'll have to face retribution? All right. That being said, let's finish there's just a small part I want us to listen to before we proceed. Listen to this.
Continue injecting with the syringe and the needle of a camel. To the President of the Republic of Kenya, you must respect the Constitution. Thank you, and God bless you.
All right, so within this meeting, we'll be going back to see what major announcement they have. But meanwhile, let's turn to Gachagua's reception and watch some videos in relation to that, because Babu Ken has decided to mobilize around 100,000 young people will be going to meet Gachagua at the JKIA. So guys, that was a shocking move after Malala came out in the morning and announced the arrival of the opposition leader, Gachagua, in his speech. So he just did that announcement, and after that, then it came out that Ken Babu has decided to mobilize 100,000 young people to the airport to receive Gachagua. So what particularly was their intention, or why did they decide to have such a move instead of waiting for Gachagua from Meru or any other place? Is it a move to barricade and stop the arrest? Is it meant to cause some fracas? what exactly is out? Maybe you can comment on the comment section. I can see Amanda Kosgei, and there was Help Me Run Away from California. There was Void Crystalize, and so many other people. Though I'm just seeing 3 popping out. The rest, I don't know where they disappeared to. Guys, let's stay put and give a like to the video. Give a like to the video as I get this video here. There is one video I'm supposed to play.
The federal government has dropped some criminal charges.
Yeah, here is Malala, the DCP party, welcoming Gachagua from USA. Cleophas Malala here.
Of the United States of America. I am pleased to announce to the country that his plane will land at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport on Thursday, 21st August 2025 at exactly 12 noon. During his highly successful USA visit, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, our party leader, met Kenyans in Seattle, Boston, Dallas, Kansas City, and Baltimore, launching DCP satellite offices in key states, including Texas and Washington. He rallied our brothers and sisters abroad to prepare for political...
All right, so Malala had to announce the time of landing, even though Gachagua had said that he will not give the specific time of landing, but that had to happen. Now, of course, there was a lot of stir of emotions in the president after the young people actually decided to mobilize themselves to the airport. And of course, even if it were you, what would you do, right? So let's check on this before we proceed to another. Let's quickly check on this. Of course, Ken Babu had come up with a message just before deciding to mobilize people. This is the message he did. This one here. We understand that some Kenya Kwanza mandarins have issued threats to arrest Rigathi Gachagua upon his arrival back into the country. We want to categorically state that we are aware of this plan. We know what they are capable of doing and we are ready for anything. We shall be at the airport early enough to receive Rigathi Gachagua. If they want to arrest him, let them come with enough lorries. So you actually realize that the intention of Ken Babu to mobilize 100,000 people to go to the airport was actually a move to block arrest, or rather have what we normally call it a crowd influence on whatever was surrounding Gachagua. So what is in the news currently? Meanwhile, before we go to that, Wamchomba had to respond to Wetangula. I hope you saw after Wamchomba was suspended from parliament and all the accusations that followed. Yeah. So let's be checking on what Wamchomba had to say here. And of course, she's with Gloria Oroba. You can imagine Gloria Oroba recently doing a lot of spitting on media, especially about the leaders and corruption that is happening there. So let's listen to her.
For not accepting a flimsy answer from the cabinet secretary in charge of Interior, Kipchumba Murkomen. I was at my lowest as I walked out of parliament when other women in the same house were jeering at me. When they looked at me, even there is one woman leader, a woman representative. If you listen to that clip, there is one woman in that clip who said, "Tutakupiga vita." If you listen to that clip, there is one woman who said, "Tutakupiga vita." That was my lowest. My lowest because I have been in the women movement in this country since I was 19 years old.
Fear and worry suck.
Sorry for the commercial break.
Or paralyzed
Sorry for the commercial break, but we wanted to get what Wamchomba was calling the brief here for, because she was on an explosive.
Participating in the arena of trying to make sure that women politicians get political space for them to make critical decisions like the one I'm trying to make. It defeated me to see women representatives and women MPs watch me as I was getting patronized by men, including the speaker himself, and they never defended me for standing for the rights of the women of Kenya. That is the lowest Kenya has gone on matters of women's rights. So on Wednesday, 13th August 2025, I staged a protest in the National Assembly against the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Assembly Administration, Honorable Christopher Komen, for failing to effectively oversee the arrest of the prime suspect in the femicide of 42 women.
Yeah, so of course, Wamchomba was suspended from Parliament after she was demanding an answer from CS Murkomen in relation to the death of so many women, femicide that has been happening in the country. And she was actually urging the CS to come up with an answer and say what he has done so far to protect the women. However, in Kenya, sometimes we say we have women and men, but it comes to a level whereby people are fighting for, it is we against you. If you read Wamtangi Katama Mkangi's book, Wale Nisi, you understand the literature behind it. We have a narrative of them and us, right? So, Missy, is it Missy? Missy is saying, don't think that way. I'm not thinking that way. I'm just doing an analysis, right? I'm not even attacking anybody or thinking in any way. I'm just trying to analyze what Wamchomba is saying here. So Wamchomba was actually trying to make us understand why she had to walk out of Parliament. And at the end of the day, she managed to show the fact that even though women are supposed to sometimes fight for their space in a patriarchal society, it comes to a point when they decide to sacrifice it. And she's referring to some women rep who were actually laughing and jeering as she was walking out of Parliament. Most times it's not easy. Even at workplace, when you try to stand up and speak, people are like, who the hell is this? Why can't she shut up? Why is she so much outgoing? Why is she that's aggressive, In fact, they call you names. They will call you aggressive, violent. Anyway, it is what it is. So Mchomba comes out to show her that, and you can see Oruoba there, and you understand when you see her. Yeah, so looking at Wamchomba's discussion, then something comes to our mind. What is exactly happening in Parliament? The problem is that when somebody calls, the camera does not allow me to actually focus on the computer anymore. But it is what it is. We'll flow with the vibe till the end. So thank you so much for those who are here. I really appreciate your presence. But sometimes you can't ignore calls. We have people who call when you're recording and you just have to receive because maybe they are urgent calls and such a thing. So I really appreciate your presence and your patience, and I welcome you to this hot discussion, the explosive, discussions around here. So, in Kenya, we have something known as press release, right? So some of the leaders, or rather the individuals who feel affected and they have money, they easily come out with a press release and release, news. So you realize that Wamchomba came up showing that there is a lot of impunity, traumatizing, humiliation, and, disgrace to women. I don't know whether that's true, because that's what she is saying here. Let's listen to it again.
Further perpetuate this pattern of contempt and rights. It is particularly alarming that following his flimpat treatment to myself and other leaders like Senator Gloria, who has gone through the same, Murkomen went on to dismiss the BBC Africa Eye documentary, Madams, exposing Kenya's child sex trade in my Mahio in through a national charter, which he committed through the commitment of a personal signature to provide diapers to lactating mothers of Kenya. It is now 2.5 years, and those diapers to lactating mothers have not been delivered. President William Samoei Ruto, you not only failed to deliver diapers, you have refused to protect the dignity of a mother during delivery by providing a cover cord to the mama.
All right, so the leaders, some of the leaders are now coming up to, awaken some things such as Linda Mama and all that was there in the former regime. Now, some people feel like during delivery, we have mothers who don't have that opportunity to actually have an honorable moment because they lack maybe funds, they don't have insurance, and they are therefore forced to actually just bear with the worst situations, and that is the reality on the ground. When you talk about delivery, currently we have women who are now sacrificing to have home deliveries, or they reach that delivery time when they're not ready. And somebody may say, who told them to bear? But the reality is that even animals out there still bear when they don't have any ability, Even animals out there bear without any ability. Anyway, let's go back to something else here. And Gloria Robo, of course, you've seen her in that meeting, and you remember the last time she was actually standing up to speak is when she was pointing out the corrupt aspects in the government, how some MPs that are not even related to some of the international meetings go by because of favors, and how maybe sometimes you have people going for trips just to enjoy themselves when we have real people who are supposed to go represent matters in Kenya. But it is what it is. The leadership in Kenya has actually failed in a lot of capacity. You find leaders who are supposed to represent citizens, they represent themselves. You find citizens who are supposed to actually direct bills and, fight for the space of Kenyans and the economic situation. Instead, they fight for their own economic well-being and forget about citizens, right? So, let's get to more. Now, of course, Kibagendi came up in a funeral speaking about Matiang'i, and whatever he said was actually working against Matiang'i. I don't know whether he was so sure about what he was saying. Let's just check this. Kibagendi.
Sababu, one time as I finished, I went to push for somebody an opportunity, akuwe head of procurement somewhere. Mtu anaitwa Wetangu na alipiga simu, mtu wetu alirungwa, he was qualified, mtu kutoka Bukusu ndiye aliwekwa hiyo kiti. Nikaenda Caves kutafutia mtu mwingine kazi. Huyo Felix Kusikia alipiga simu, mtoto wetu akanyimwa kazi, mtu kutoka Rift Valley akapatiwa kazi. What am I saying? Tusukume Matiang'i wetu mpaka mwisho, atoke hata kuna kama kura 900, alafu aende akae kwa meza anegotiate na hao watu. But I want to tell you, Kenya has decided to support him. Western is supporting. The coast is supporting.
Kibagendi came up in this speech indicating that Matiang'i has been supported across the country and that they shouldn't let somebody else come in and become the candidate. And he was insinuating that regardless of all the stuff, even if he's going to get 900,000 votes, it is okay as long as he's going to get a table to which to hold negotiation. So when you look at this speech, even though he thought he was actually giving a speech that is worth But if you look at it at a critical eye, what is he trying to say, ladies and gentlemen? Kibagendi is trying to say that he does not have trust in Matiang'i winning. Because if he suggests that the only vote he can get is 900,000, what exactly does he mean? And again, when he says that he's going there so that he can represent the Kisis and they have jobs, what does he mean? Is he sure that when, for example, Etangula is somewhere, any Luya will get a job? That's not true. Does it mean when Murkomen or Sudi or any other person is somewhere, the only people who will get jobs are from Rift Valley? Possibly not. So, of course, tribalism is one of the diseases Kenya suffers. It's a cancer that we suffer because it's part of corruption, by the way, and favoritism. However, it does not mean that if the country is thriving in nepotism or tribalism, now we favor it on the platform while we are looking for votes. So Kibagendi really dropped a bombshell that was not right before the space by vindicating Matiang'i without knowing as a candidate for 2027 presidential seat. Now let's hear what, there are some questions that arise here also. Let's hear this. That is the senator, the farm senator in the house, also saying that they have decided to present their own candidate, and that candidate is none other than Fred Matiang'i, so that he can have tables to sit with the president and argue or negotiate. Our question is, are they going to negotiate with Ruto, or who exactly are they going to negotiate with? Let's look at what we had Gachagua sharing here. What did Gachagua share?
Kwa hivyo mimi nikiongea watu ya mlima wale wanaongea kwa niaba yao. Tunataka kujua kabisa huyu Fred Matiang'i amekubalika na jamii ya Umugusi kama kiongozi wao. Unasikia? Sasa tunajua akija kwa meza amebeba jamii mzima. Na nani hapo ndio niko na maneno. Unashuku kwamba jamii haijamkubali? Mimi nashuku kwa sababu siku amekuja pale. Amelakiwa vizuri sana. Gavana Simbarati, rafiki yangu sana, alikuwa pale. Na kila mtu amesema hawataki Ruto, hawataki Raila, wanataka Matiang'i awe rais. Siku tatu baadaye nimesikia huyu Warati akisema Matiang'i kuja ungana na Raila. Sasa mimi nimeshangaa, kwani imekuaje?
So Gachagua is not so sure that the entire community of the Kisii people have agreed to present Matiang'i as the candidate, because at some point somebody came up saying that they are actually presenting, they are also presenting him to Raila. So that put him in a lot of quagmire, if you know what I mean. The quagmire came in, right? Of course, you have heard Kabando wa Kabando, if you remember him. He was in a radio station. People currently are actually steering the wheel of politics in different ways. So Kabando Kabando went to a station and he was indicating that William Ruto is the chief bribe giver. Now let's see. Why does he actually say this? Why does he say this? And remember, guys, today there was information about a huge crack along Nairobi Narok Highway.
He's here with us this morning, lest we forget. Good morning.
Good morning to you all.
Fine.
Negative. Select and upload your audio file.
4%
growth to to, even with the quarrels, the Grand Coalition government and the tassels, to 7%. So it's about leadership. So today, without malice and prejudice, if the people around you, you know, if people around you, when Kenya was taking over, when we are donating food, I think to South Korea, and being at the same time, at the same level with Singapore and Malaysia, if you look at the inaugural cabinet, it's called the Kenyatta cabinet, even the challenge of infant nationhood, just after independence, you see a lot of mature nationalists who are members of the cabinet, highly educated that time, and respected individuals from their own communities. So there was a coalition. Even as people said there was a domination by a certain area, even in that area, if you talked about Jerome Mugabe, the Kenyan people, we remember about 23 years ago, Kenya, we are gasping for breath ourselves to get or placate attention of the young generation. Are they digital anchors, as David Day would call them? Okay, call them names. I can tell you, I'm a beneficiary of a youth uprising. Okay? When we were at the University of Nairobi. And later, when I came to Parliament in 07, there was something that happened. I may not have met their absolute expectations, but I can tell you, when the youth decided to go a certain way, and then they are cross-cutting. Let me paraphrase Kennedy Morogo, rest in peace. Major Kennedy Morogo was a permanent secretary in the first group, the first on the youth question. Barely 40 members of parliament from the 222 attended that sitting at parliament buildings. The paper that Major Kennedy Morogo presented had a youth Marshall Plan and the quick intervention.
Now, of course, you can see Kabando is actually reminding Kenyan leaders, especially the president, that listening to the young people is important, because what they say sometimes you may ignore and say that Gen Zs are just, you know, hunting for things they can't arrest or manage. But the reality is that whatever they say might be of importance, guys. So remember, by 6 a.m., that is when Gachagua was landing in the country. Do you know so far what has happened? Has he been arrested? Has he been arrested? Let's know. Drop a comment in the comment section as we discuss other matters. Of course, e-Citizen scandal is still under discussion. What is your thought? Drop the comment section in the comment, because we were here for 40 minutes and we are only remaining with about 2 minutes to close the chapter. Of course, let's listen to Kalonzo Musyoka a bit.
Learned friends is extreme of the distance. It is important, and we need to hear this kind of truth that they are Thika Superhighway, for example. People believe it was done by the Chinese, but I was there when Professor Ndesena and President Kibaki launched the Thika Superhighway, and the money came from the African Development Bank. But who were the contractors, and how are they contracted? Even now, what is happening between Bagamoyo and Malindi? Very slow pace of implementation. We have to rise together. I know myself, I have no doubt in my mind that this audience that I've been part of since the last 2 days is the most important audience. If the Law Society of Kenya drops the ball, we have no country. Therefore, faith, continue to keep faith and hope, and let us and the God generally.
I have a responsibility because some of us take oaths very serious. We took an oath to defend this constitution. And I agree with those of you who are saying we need to go back and reclaim our country. Now, let me conclude. First of all, Justice Lenaola, I think, has painted the true picture of this country, who we are. I have had some political leaders claim that, we are in Africa, and that in Africa it is very difficult to remove a sitting president who is looking for his second term. He forgets there are people like Lenaola who made history by annulling a presidential election. Kenya is not like the rest of Africa. We are not the rest of Africa where these things happen. You understand? So, don't tell us about Uganda. Sure. Are we Uganda? Are you saying nothing? With all due respect to my friends from Uganda, we are not Uganda. So, Justice Lenaola and your team, for that courage to demonstrate that Kenya can be different. Kenya can be different. You don't have to be like the other African countries. We want to remind these people that on the day that Kenyans speak, all this bravado you see, the senior council of people that the good thing with me, I have the benefit of being in the exact same position that the people are in power, who are in power now, are in. We were the ones making all those statements of bravado, gifted. They are in the exact same position. We have been there, saying voices for that, What the experience of going to the people is that you, as the voters, are more powerful than.
So, Sifuna actually was mocking the statements of Kujaza Vikapu and the statements which relate to, filling the basket with, votes. Statements that have been released by Isiolo MP. We also saw we also heard from Oscar Sudi and from all those leaders. So from Sifuna, he says he was also in that position, and now currently they are elsewhere. So Kenya, anything can happen, guys. So today I didn't have so much. But as the situation is, we'll go on with a lot of discussions because there is a lot out there, right? There is a lot out there, but sometimes we continue waiting because, of course, you can see Babu has told Sifuna to continue injecting the government with the syringe of the camel and not stopping. We've also heard Sifuna saying that indeed they're expecting better things and they don't have to be compared to any other African country. And we look at the comment section, it's hot, guys. You're gonna watch that. Hot. You know? And of course, Sifuna raising questions such as the president should tell us who the people are. You know? The criminal enterprises in the country, who they are, right? So guys, I know there's a lot of discussions around political aspects, and I welcome you to more discussion, more suggestions, and thank you in the house because we've had a lot of discussions and sometimes they are never conclusive. But what is your thought? What's your thought about the political situation in Kenya and what's happening? And what do you think? Do you think what Kabando says is right? Wamuchomba, for example, SIFUNA-BABU. And what about the arrest of GACHAGUA and the youth going to the JKIA? So let's meet again tomorrow. As for now, I'll be going back to Edutainment for Us TV to do other stuff. Bye-bye. Thank you.